How do you get a good hip turn? I really want you to balance your hip turn with the shot you want to hit. If you have problems with slice, you're probably treating the hip turn as something special that you need to do from the start, and everything magically should just happen after that. It's not working. You need to understand when you need more hip turn and when you need less. I want you to turn to the target. I want you to go back, turn this way, and go that way, turn this way. Turning to the target sounds a lot better in my brain than rotation. Rotation has no end. But if I tell myself to turn to the target, it's not going to be too far. But how do I know if I'm doing enough hip turn or too much hip turn? The problem isn't really how fast the hips are moving. The problem is when you think that you should start the hip turn as a special isolated movement and it's not in sync with the rest of the golf swing. If you try to really start with just the hip turn, you will have problems. If I do a backswing and then I just start by turning my hips, if I try to hit from here, I will go steep down from the outside and in, and the club face will be open. It will be a big slice. Too much hip turn alone will be a bad slice. I'm turning my hips, but I'm not telling them to turn. My trail hand is telling my hips when to turn. From the top, my trail hand wants to push that way, and then down, and then forward. So when my hand is going forward, my hip will help my trail hand. I'm not trying to do a hip turn first and then the club, because I would slice it like everyone else. The way the hip works in everything else but golf is a helping motion, a helping movement to anything you do with your hands. If you throw anything underhanded, your hip will turn, but a hip will not turn alone first and then you throw. That's not the way it works. To balance your hip turn, it's supposed to help your hands to hit the golf ball. The hip has never hit any golf ball. The club is hitting the golf ball. We talked a lot about how you need to do an earlier release with the driver to actually have any chance to hit a good drive, because it's a longer club with a bigger club head. But here you really need to think early. Some people even need to think slow down their hips to have a chance to square up the club face. When you look at, sadly, when you look at Tiger Woods, when he misses his drive, they're not saying that he sliced the ball. You're not allowed to say slice and Tiger Woods in the same sentence. That's not okay. They say that he's just spinning too fast. His hips is spinning too fast. And he leaves the club face open. But it's a slice. Hips too fast and the slice is there. You need to balance and understand that your hands and your club will hit the ball. If you have problems with slice, you need more arm, trail arm. You don't need more hip. You need to have more arm before the hip turn comes along. The hip turn is not an isolated movement you do first. Just try it. Try to relax your hip and try to then just let the club lead your turn. Then you can hit a draw, because the draw means that your hands, arms and club was a little bit faster than your turn. Looking at the line, it starts left and it turns back to the right. A draw. When you hit a draw, or even if you hit it straight, your hip turn is balanced with your golf shot. But if you try to start alone with just a hip turn, you're probably in big troubles. You don't need that. Golf is hard enough. Focus more on what you do with the club and let the hip follow what you do with your hands. Don't try to get up and turn. That's not supposed to work like that. What you see on TV are really fast body turns with a lot of hip movement, a lot of shoulder rotation, but they also have very fast hands and arms. Otherwise they wouldn't be pros. Just think about how you think about hip turn. Are you trying to start the hip and hopefully get everything else fall magically into place? Then you're probably in some troubles. Don't try to do that. The hip turn should not work alone. It should work with the golf shot. Again, if you want to hit it hard and not from the outside, you want to hit it from the inside, you need to get the club down here before the hip turn has turned too much. Maybe you need less. Like I said, I never say anything to my hips. My hands, if they need help, they get it from the hips. If my hips were fast, I would slice it. But I'm heavy, old and slow, so it's not a problem anymore. Too fast hips, probably slice. Try to balance club with hip turn.